By 4 in the afternoon, your legs feel like they're dragging sandbags. Stepping off a curb, your balance wobbles half a second longer than it used to. Some mornings you're tired before you've even made it to the kitchen. Today I'm handing you 3 teas, starting with a ginger turmeric blend that's probably already sitting in your spice rack, that real research shows can help rebuild the strength your legs are losing. And the third one on this list works while you're asleep, which is the part almost nobody expects. Before the teas, here's a quick way to know if this applies to you. Sign 1. You push off the arms of a chair instead of standing on your legs alone. Sign 2. Balancing on one foot to put on a sock feels shaky within a few seconds. Sign 3. Stairs that never bothered you now leave your thighs burning halfway up. Any one of those points to something real and measurable called sarcopenia, the gradual loss of muscle tissue that speeds up after 60. It's driven by lower activity, dropping hormone levels, and low-grade inflammation, all working against your legs at the same time. Tell me in the comments which sign you noticed first, plus your age and where you're watching from. Colder climates make that third sign show up sooner, and so does every year past 60. Here's the useful part. None of those 3 signs mean the damage is permanent, and that inflammation and circulation problem is precisely what the first tea is designed to work against. It pairs 2 kitchen spices most people already own, and together they go after 2 of the biggest drivers of heavy, tired legs at once, starting with what's happening in your blood vessels. Ginger contains compounds called gingerols, and researchers have studied them for their effect on blood vessels. They act as natural vasodilators, meaning they help vessels relax and widen so blood moves more freely. That matters more than people realize, because poor circulation is often the hidden reason legs feel heavy, cramp easily, or tire out on a short walk. When circulation improves, oxygen and nutrients reach the muscle faster, and recovery afterwards speeds up too. But ginger only solves half the equation. The other half is what turmeric does once that blood flow arrives. Turmeric's active compound is curcumin, one of the more studied natural anti-inflammatory agents around. Inflammation isn't just a symptom of weak legs, it's a driver of it, breaking down muscle fiber and stiffening joints so even light activity feels uncomfortable. Curcumin works by calming the inflammatory signals your body sends out, which gives muscle tissue room to repair instead of constantly fighting damage. Put the 2 together, and you get a loop. Ginger opens the door for blood flow. Curcumin quiets the inflammation waiting on the other side. That combination is the whole reason this pairing outperforms either spice alone. 1 cup won't change your legs by tomorrow, and that's worth saying plainly instead of pretending otherwise. This lines up with how inflammation research generally works. These effects build with continued regular intake rather than appearing after a single dose, so less stiffness after a week or 2 is realistic for some people, longer for others, depending on how long the inflammation has been building. Just like the decline built up slowly, the rebuilding does too. The people who notice the biggest difference aren't the ones who drink it once and wait. They're the ones who make it as automatic as brushing their teeth, which is what happened for one woman worth telling you about. Consider someone like Beatrice, 68, in Wichita, Kansas. She'd started avoiding her porch steps because her knees ached by the time she reached the top, and she'd quietly stopped offering to carry groceries in from the car. She added ginger turmeric tea to her morning routine, not expecting much, mostly because a friend suggested it. Within about 3 weeks, she noticed the porch steps stopped announcing themselves, no more bracing before she climbed them. Small as that sounds, it's the kind of shift this pairing is designed to produce. Less inflammation, better blood flow, and a little more of her day back. Getting that benefit, though, depends on how you actually make the cup. Fresh ginger root releases more of its active compounds than the powdered version, so use fresh if you can find it. Turmeric powder works fine if fresh root isn't available. Here's the detail most people miss entirely: a small pinch of black pepper, because curcumin on its own is poorly absorbed by the body. What that pepper actually does is worth knowing before you decide it's optional. A widely cited 1998 study in the journal Planta Medica found that pairing curcumin with piperine, the active compound in black pepper, dramatically increased how much curcumin the body actually absorbed. More recent attempts to replicate the exact size of that effect have had mixed results, so it's fair to call it a promising, well-known finding, rather than a settled fact. but pepper's role in helping curcumin absorb remains the most consistent thread across the research, and it costs nothing to add a pinch. A slice of lemon or a little honey improves the flavor without undoing any of that. And once your legs start feeling that shift, the second tea on this list solves a completely different problem: the fatigue that makes people stop moving in the first place. If this kind of straightforward, research-backed approach to your independence is useful to you, hit subscribe so the next one finds you, and share this with someone who's been told their legs are just getting old. Because fatigue in your 60s and beyond usually isn't just about tired muscles. It's about how efficiently your body delivers oxygen, how well it converts food into usable energy, and how it handles stress day to day. Resting more doesn't fully fix that. What actually helps is supporting the systems underneath it, which is the gap the second tea is built to close. Ginseng has been used for centuries to combat weakness and low vitality, and modern research has looked at compounds in it called ginsenosides, which appear to influence several systems at once. Studies suggest they help muscles use oxygen more efficiently, which makes physical activity feel less exhausting, and they support mitochondrial function, mitochondria being the structures inside your cells that actually generate energy. As mitochondrial efficiency naturally declines with age, muscles can feel starved of energy even when you're eating enough. Supporting that process is how ginseng helps muscles do more work without running out of steam halfway through the task. Here's the part people don't expect: this isn't only physical. When you feel mentally drained, you're far less likely to move at all, even if your legs are technically capable. A 2005 study published in the Journal of Psychopharmacology gave healthy adults a single dose of Panax ginseng and measured their mental fatigue during a long stretch of demanding tasks. The ginseng group reported significantly less of that foggy, unfocused tiredness than the group that didn't take it. That combination, steadier physical energy plus a clearer head, is why people often describe feeling like they actually want to get up and do something, not just able to. And that motivation pairs with something green tea brings to the table. Green tea is rich in catechins, a group of antioxidants that help protect cells from oxidative stress, a major contributor to muscle aging since it damages proteins and structures inside muscle cells over time. Green tea also has a modest amount of caffeine, far less than coffee, alongside an amino acid called L-theanine that calms the nervous system. Together, caffeine and L-theanine tend to produce steady alertness, without the jitters or crash that stronger stimulants cause. A 2008 study in the journal Nutritional Neuroscience found the pair improved both speed and accuracy on attention tasks more than caffeine on its own, which matters for anyone sensitive to strong stimulants. Combine that with ginseng's effect on mitochondria, and you get energy that lifts gradually instead of spiking and dropping. Take Howard, 74, from Erie, Pennsylvania. He used to tell his daughter he was just tired lately and leave it at that, skipping his usual walk around the block more days than not. He started drinking ginseng green tea most mornings, mostly out of curiosity. He didn't expect it to change how his legs felt, and it didn't directly. What changed was that he stopped dreading the walk. The fog lifted enough that getting up and going felt worth it again, and the legs followed once he was actually moving them regularly. Sometimes the missing piece isn't strength at all. It's motivation. And this tea is aimed squarely at that gap. Let the water cool slightly after boiling. Full boiling heat can destroy some of green tea's delicate compounds. Then steep the green tea 2 to 3 minutes. Add a few thin slices of fresh ginseng root or a small amount of dried ginseng powder and let it steep about 5 minutes longer to draw out its compounds. 1 cup in the morning works well, since the gentle lift supports activity through the day rather than interfering with sleep at night. One note worth knowing now, not later. Ginseng can have a stimulating effect, so if you have high blood pressure or take multiple medications, check with your doctor before adding it. And that stress and sleep angle is precisely the territory the third tea covers. Ashwagandha works differently from the first 2 teas. Where ginger turmeric targets circulation and inflammation, and ginseng green tea targets energy, ashwagandha is what's called an adaptogen. It helps the body handle stress, rather than targeting one system directly. It's been used in traditional Indian medicine for centuries as a tonic for strength and vitality. A 2012 randomized placebo-controlled study in the Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine found that adults who took an ashwagandha root extract daily for 60 days had significantly lower cortisol levels and reported stress than those on a placebo. When cortisol stays elevated for long stretches, it can accelerate muscle breakdown and interfere with sleep. Calming that response is what lets the body shift out of constant tension and into actual repair. There's a physical side to this too. A 2015 study in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition put adults on an 8-week strength training program, some with ashwagandha and some with a placebo, and the ashwagandha group came out with significantly greater gains in muscle strength. Evidence this isn't just a stress story. Part of that appears tied to how it supports neuromuscular connections, the communication between nerves and muscles that coordination and steadiness depend on. Picture someone who stopped gripping the stair rail quite so tightly, or feels a little steadier stepping out of the shower. That's the kind of small physical shift people describe with consistent use alongside less of the anxiety that so often rides along with feeling unsteady on your feet. But its most underrated effect happens after the lights go out. Muscles don't rebuild during the day. They repair and strengthen at night, during deep sleep, when growth hormone is released and tissue is restored. Without that deep sleep, exercise and good nutrition can only do so much. Many people in their 60s and beyond deal with a racing mind at bedtime, and ashwagandha taken in the evening has been studied for its calming effect on precisely that kind of racing mind, helping quiet it and encourage deeper, more restorative sleep. Waking up with legs that feel lighter instead of stiff often comes down to whether the body actually got the overnight repair window it needed. Ashwagandha root is denser than the other ingredients, so simmer dried root pieces gently in water for 10 to 15 minutes. Then strain. The flavor is earthy and pairs well with a touch of cinnamon, or honey-powdered ashwagandha or tea bags work if you want something quicker, though the root tends to give the fullest effect. Drink it in the morning if you want steady daytime calm, or in the evening if better sleep is the goal. Either way, consistency matters more than timing. One thing to flag now: ashwagandha can influence hormone levels, so use caution if you have a thyroid disorder or autoimmune condition, and check with your doctor if you're on multiple medications. None of these 3 teas work in isolation. Together, they cover ground no single one reaches alone. Line them up and the picture gets clearer. Ginger turmeric tea reduces inflammation and improves circulation, easing soreness and fueling repair. Ginseng green tea lifts stamina, oxygen use, and mental energy, so you actually want to move. Ashwagandha calms the stress response and improves sleep, giving your body the overnight window it needs to rebuild. One targets the muscle itself, one targets the motivation to use it, and one targets the recovery that happens while you're not even trying. That's 3 different angles on the same problem, working at the same time, which is worth remembering the next time someone tells you weak legs are just part of getting older. None of these are drugs, and none work like one. There's no single cup that fixes everything overnight, so here's roughly what to expect. In week 1 or 2, it's usually small, slightly less morning stiffness, a little less of that dragging feeling by late afternoon. Ginseng green tea's energy lift tends to show up fastest, sometimes within days. Circulation and inflammation changes from ginger turmeric tend to land around 3 to 6 weeks in, steadier stairs, less bracing, the way it did for Beatrice. Ashwagandha's sleep and stress effects usually take longest to settle, but tend to be the most noticeable once they do. One thing that speeds all 3 along: staying hydrated and adding a short daily walk, since dehydration and inactivity blunt circulation, no matter which tea you're relying on. So to bring it all together, ginger turmeric tea for inflammation and circulation, ginseng green tea for endurance and energy, and ashwagandha for stress, balance, and the sleep your muscles need to rebuild overnight. None of them are exotic, expensive, or complicated. They're daily choices that are already within reach. If you found this useful, subscribe for more of this kind of research broken down in plain terms, and let me know in the comments which of the 3 you're starting with first. Before you go, one last thing worth knowing, especially if you're managing other health conditions. This video is for general information only and isn't a substitute for medical advice. Talk with your doctor before adding any new herb or supplement, especially if you take prescription medication or manage an ongoing condition. Your body has more capacity to rebuild than most people give it credit for, at 60, at 75, at 85. It just needs the right daily support. And now you have 3 simple, ordinary ways to give it that, sitting in your kitchen, not in a prescription. Thanks for spending this time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.